Welcome to Proverbs 31 Creatives. My name is Brianna Coleman. I'm so excited for this new chapter in my walk with the Lord. My goal with this podcast is to encourage other women to grow their creativity, entrepreneurship, finances, life, health, and most importantly, grow closer to Jesus. I'll be having conversations with guests with anointed women in faith and learning right along with you. Are you ready to start your journey to become the creative Proverbs 31 woman you've always wanted to be? All right, let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Proverbs 31 Creatives. I'm your host, Brianna Coleman. And if you're watching on YouTube, do you like my new setup? But if you're listening on audio, don't worry, you're not missing much. It's just a white wall. However, I did not have to move anything out of the way, like 6 totes before I recorded. I did what I have been wanting to do for months, probably since starting this podcast. I literally just hit record and it was so refreshing. All I had to do, I got a new light off of none other than TikTok Shop and set my mic up, set my tripod up, and we're good to go. We're rolling. I am so excited for this new space. However, I was a little bit ambitious when I thought that I would have my studio the way that I wanted, the way that I dreamed that it would be laid out, all that kind of fun stuff. For right now, this is probably a temporary setup. We don't know. I wanted to build something though that wasn't really dependent on natural lighting as much as I love natural lighting. It is my preferred method of filming. However, with the time we are in right now, I just needed to build something out that was sustainable and had some good lighting and all that kind of fun stuff. So it is a studio type feel. And of course, I really put it to the test today because the sun, I feel like, went behind the clouds at 1 o'clock and haven't seen it since. So I'm grateful for tripods and lights and all that kind of fun stuff. So we can still record, get good lighting, all that kind of fun stuff. So we moved into our house. I wanted to give a little bit of life update. We moved into our house and there was drywall dust everywhere. We had cardboard floor protector all over the house as we were even moving in. We had to rip floor protector off the floor to even put our stuff down, and it just got all over our stuff. And it was honestly a little bit of chaos in the process of trying to move in. And we're trying to fix things little by little to make this house feel like a home. So right now we only really have one bathroom functionable, one shower functionable, but the sink is not functionable in the other. So it's just things like that, but it's all going to take time. And I really am trying to just remind myself that not everything has to be done today because that's where the overwhelm will kick in. Hi, Blue. We have a guest with us. If you're watching on YouTube, I probably will keep that in there. But anyway, so the first day that... Come up here. Come up. Say hi to the people. Oh, this is the joys of... Oh my goodness. Say hi, buddy. Hi. I apologize for that brief interruption because we don't even have doors right now and my dog got bored, so he needed to come get me and I could get him a bone so that way he is now being entertained. But where was I? Like I was saying, so the first day that I was really here by myself, my husband had gone to work that day. We didn't even really have Wi-Fi, so I used my phone connection to give my computer internet, but that only works for so long because my phone overheats, and hotspot I think it is called, and it actually does do that. My phone overheats, so it's a great name, hotspot. But anyway, I had a good conversation with my mom, a good conversation with my husband, and a good conversation with Jesus, and then took the bull by the horns and just started ripping paper up, started unpacking. I had a brief meltdown and then, like I said, grabbed the bull by the horns and we were good to go. My neighbors got to see a WWE match as I body slammed this roll of floor protector that was the size of my living room. So that was fun. Took some frustration out on that. So that was fun. That was probably the highlight of my day. But I'm just taking it one step at a time and taking it little by little. And I'm reminding myself that it doesn't all have to be done in a day. And there will always be something to do. There will always be a to-do list. And I feel like this gave me a really good lesson for my life as well. Since I am an entrepreneur, there's always something I can do. There's always a to-do list. Like the list just does not stop. And so I really have to train myself to rest, to spend time with the Lord, to make those decisions where I need to rejuvenate myself. And I feel like that's a really good segue into today's episode because I really just wanted to dive into our theme for this month. So if you do not know, go back, listen to this previous episode because I announced our 2025 Proverbs 31 growth series. It is going to be all year long. Every month, we're going to have reflection questions, a theme, one or two main goals, and that is going to carry us all year long. So this month's theme, obviously, since it is January, I felt like it was only fitting that we started with diligence in discipline. And this is going to be based off of Proverbs 31 verses 27. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Basically, this is going to be setting yourself up for 2025, things like habit tracking, Bible reading, getting things in order. If you did not get a chance to listen to it, I announced my word for the year, which is altitude, and then go into the year-long growth series in more detail. But the idea of diligence in discipline, basically, she is managing her responsibilities and she is intentional with avoiding idleness. So January, our focus is basically going to be finding things that are sucking our time away from us. And we are going to be building discipline and focusing our time on ways to honor God, find time with our families, and the calling that He has for our lives. So our main goal for January is, if you do not have the habit of reading your Bible every single day, this is the habit you are going to build on. Preferably in the morning because it does set the pace for the rest of your day. However, I have friends that like to read their Bible at night right before they go to bed. So find a time that works for you and then develop a simple, realistic daily schedule that prioritizes time for God, family, work, and personal care. So for the Bible aspect, if you are new to studying the Bible, of course, I always recommend for somebody to start in the Gospels, which is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. These books of the Bible tell the story of Jesus' life from his birth to his crucifixion. Acts is then what goes on after Jesus has ascended into heaven. But these are great places to start. So if somebody is new reading the Bible, my recommendation for them is to always just start with Matthew. It's the first gospel. It's in my top 3 favorite books of the Bible. I get so much theology out of it. There are 28 chapters in Matthew, so you could read a chapter, like one chapter a day, and then say there's an extra couple days left in the month, say 2 to 3, you could maybe finish with some Psalms to finish out your 30 days to continue that habit. And then mapping out a schedule is something that I really need to get better at. This is something that I have struggled with, I feel like, ever since starting my social media management business, because sometimes with editing, either for myself or for clients or whatever that looks like, things 9 times out of 10 take longer than expected. So having a set schedule is a bit harder. Like obviously I have work hours, and I just basically try to schedule my life around those. But I will say, now that we have Blue, we have the house, I feel like I'm actually doing things versus not just like working, staying in my apartment and being a hermit. Like I actually am trying to go out and do activities. It's amazing to me, and this is just me personally. This is not knocking anybody that has lived in an apartment. I lived in an apartment and a condo for 7, almost 8 years of my life. And when I tell you, I am so grateful to have the space of a house. Like it is a night and day different. Like I can actually go out to my backyard and put my feet in the grass, and I just love it. It makes my day so much better. And it really has helped with bad habits like mindless scrolling. Now, this is a habit I really am actively trying to kick. And I thought about this, and I'm trying to beat a habit that I created back in probably 2018, 2019 timeframe. That's when I got heavy into network marketing. I would scroll on Instagram and I would call it work. And if this is something that you struggle with, some things that have really helped me very recently, I would say within the last 2 weeks, is not touching my phone in the morning. And yes, that is so much harder than you realize, especially when you have such a habit of automatically waking up, rolling over, and grabbing your phone. I have noticed the days that I don't grab my phone first thing in the morning, I feel like my day just goes by so much more peaceful, I should say. Versus when I grab my phone first thing in the morning, it's almost like subconsciously I am trying to find chaos that I'm trying to put out. So the rest of my day, I feel like I'm trying to find that chaos. So not touching my phone first thing in the morning is something that I have thoroughly enjoyed. I get my weather from the news and then turn it off. Like, no, and then I'm off of technology. I even voice this to my husband, like, hey, I'm trying not to touch my phone right now, especially in the morning. What I will do is I put a specific ringer on for him. So if he calls me, which is not very often, but if he calls me, then I can answer him if he does need something. But I do my very best not to touch it till about 10 o'clock. And then I try not to go on social media until I am making a post for either myself or my clients. My mindset for 2025 is create over consuming. And especially with this being Proverbs 31 Creatives, I want to create content or create photos or film a video or make a podcast or write notes or do what I need to do before I go and consume, because that is something that I really have noticed probably within the last month of me trying to get my own personal brand established. Is I go and I look at everybody else's stuff and then I go and I compare, and I know comparison is the thief of joy, it's the thief of creativity. So that is something that I really am trying to overcome. And I actually was just telling my friend this the other day and she laughed at me. But whenever I would go to click on a social media app, I would yell at myself and say, I would actually yell if I was especially by myself in my house by myself, I would say cheap dopamine. And I would get it to the frontal part of my brain and yell at myself and make myself snap out of it almost and say cheap dopamine. And then I close the app. And it's such a mindless habit, so much so that I'm sure most of us can pick up our devices and muscle memory without even looking at our phone, go to the app, muscle memory. I just did it. Muscle memory to the app of TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever it is, you are going to that app. And there's so many times where either you'll close out of the app and muscle memory, click right back on it mindlessly. It's amazing the psychology of trying to break this habit, because it is something that I feel like we all have. And then I look at my screen time, and I have even tried to set a 30-minute time limit on my Instagram and TikTok, and I just hit 15 more minutes or end for today or whatever it may be. But I look at my time of how much I was just mindlessly scrolling, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have done so much. I could have wrote notes. I could have gone for a walk. I could have spent more time with the Lord. Like, there's so many different things that I could have been doing with that time. I could have gone to the gym. I could have called a friend. There's so many different things I could have done. And there are so many days, specifically Saturdays, and I don't know why, but there are so many days that I would look at a complete waste because that's all I did was scroll on social media. I want to schedule time to be able to go on long walks with my dog, be mindful about getting movement in, start lifting again. I want to make time to read and find new hobbies, work on the house. I want to be the healthiest I have ever been. And I know that's the most cliche January 1st thing to say, However, I recently had such a perspective switch. And I believe that this is the reason why, quote unquote, New Year's resolutions or whatever you want to call them don't really work, is because people look at the year as one big picture, I guess. They get overwhelmed 2 weeks in. My husband said, I feel like it was the 21st. Basically, the January 21st is the National Quitters Day or something like that. So basically, it's this day that on average, a majority of people have quit their New Year's resolution that they set for themselves 20 days earlier on January 1st. And so I feel like people just look at the big picture of a year, and 365 days equal 1 year. And so the days matter. Today matters. Those little decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis, they matter. So, and I'm talking to myself right now as well, is by taking the stairs versus taking the elevator. Instead of scrolling on social media, go for a long walk or go to the gym or go create something that the Lord is calling you to do. Make today count. Today matters. And I love my naturopathic doctor. I eat very healthy. I'm just not working out to the capacity that I know that I should be. And my main thing for this year is I want to get strong. I want to get back into weightlifting. I feel like I go weightlifting, I go lift at the gym for say 2 months. I get really into it, and then life happens, or I burn myself out because I try to take on too much too fast. And then I just, next thing you know, it's 3 months later and I haven't been to the gym. And so that's my main goal for this year, is to build muscle and to get strong again this year. And to be very honest and vulnerable with you right now, the Lord delivered me from about a month ago from self-sabotaging behaviors, pretty much. I've carried these for years, and so much so that I didn't even realize that I was carrying it anymore. And not being disciplined the way that I know that I need to be has been a side effect of the self-sabotage. This was something that was so normal to me, normal behaviors. It became very normal in my life. For example, I would talk myself out of going to the gym, or I would get in lazy, repetitive patterns, or stay stuck in situations longer than I needed to be. And if you struggle with that, pray and ask the Lord to set you free from that. Ask Him to show you areas of self-sabotage or areas you're holding yourself back. Journal and prayer is what's really going to help you get free from that, one step at a time, one foot in front of the other with the Lord. So how do we fix this? Invite the Lord into everything you do. And I mean everything. Work, the gym, walking the dog, picking out your clothes for the day, driving your car, making your coffee, planning out your schedule. Once I flipped the perspective that everything is worship, doing things with the spirit of excellence that I actually talked about last episode as well. And don't get me wrong, rest is even worship, but laziness is not. And yes, there is a difference. Rest is, I've worked so hard all week. I've gone after the goals that I have for myself. I have been consistent with the gym. I just need a day, for instance, Sunday, take Sunday. Use that as your rest day. Don't use it as a mindless scrolling day or just binging Netflix, whatever, for majority of the day. But instead, use it as rest and time with the Lord, time with your family, versus laziness is something that is not worship to the Lord. So here's some action items for diligence and discipline. Basically creating a daily rhythm. So develop a simple, realistic daily schedule that prioritizes time for God, family, work, and personal care. Using a planner or time block method to avoid distractions and stay on track. Also, one sidebar I will add is another tip that really helped me with the mindless scrolling is literally putting my phone on the other side of the room. I was working one day in my office and my husband comes home and he sees my phone sitting by the door as I'm at my desk, and he's like, "Why is your phone at the base of the door frame?" And it really is just because I don't want to touch it. I want it to be over there. If somebody needs me, I hear my phone ringing And since I have a Mac, I can answer my text messages back on my computer. So that really has helped me, is literally putting my phone so far I can't even reach it. But one software that really has helped me as far as time blocking, because I am trying to get better at this and implement this, is something called Motion.ai. Basically, it's AI makes your schedule for you. It's a great tool. I've seen it. The ads are literally everywhere, at least on my YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and everything like that. And yes, I got hooked into it. I looked into it. It's great. You just basically type in everything that you have for the week, deadlines or certain projects you're working on, and it'll help you with the steps and time block everything. Or say you want to go to the gym 3 times a week, it'll find time in your schedule where you can go to the gym. So you really do not have any excuses as to not to get to the gym. And then number 2, identify and replace idle time. So this is where you're going to reflect on areas where you spend idle time. So examples, excessive social media scrolling, binge watching. Replace idle activities with life-giving habits like prayer, reading the Bible, learning a new skill, serving others. I've even heard the social media trend called a dopamine menu. And this is where you make a menu or like a graphic or whatever where it's personalized to you. You take time and you write everything out or make it in Canva or whatever that is. And you make a PDF little flyer looking thing called a dopamine menu. Things on it, like for me, would be going for a prayer walk outside, doing a at-home workout, whether that be on my treadmill or going to the gym, taking a photography walk, so like taking my camera and going for a walk, journaling, creating a piece of art. I really want to get into painting this year. I've seen some really cute things on Pinterest, like whether that be like canvases or vases, or I've even seen people paint on candles and making it super cute. I just want to find some non-toxic ones and then paint either on the glass or whatever that looks like. Trying a new recipe. I don't think I said this, but I killed my sourdough starter, so I have to remake it. And so I really want to get into sourdough again. I want to start baking again. Life has just been crazy and I want to start baking, editing a vlog, or creating content for your personal brand that glorifies the Lord. Call or FaceTime a loved one to check in. Join a small group or a prayer meeting at church. I would love to do a Bible study as well. So either comment or DM me if that is something you'd be interested in, is starting a Bible study. Organizing your home. That is another thing, is I'm realizing that organization really helps me focus, and trying to get everything organized in the house has really been a great outlet as far as, instead of mindless scrolling, is organizing, whether that be unpacking, cleaning, things like that. I never really thought that I liked to organize and clean, but I'm turning a new leaf. I'm becoming a Proverbs 31 woman. So number 3 is accountability for discipline. Finding an accountability partner to encourage you to stay diligent and disciplined. I have a couple of my friends who, if I really need somebody to hold me accountable, I'll text them and ask them, like I'll have a group chat or just like check in with my group chat or let them know and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Can you guys hold me accountable? And then choosing 1 to 3 habits to build this month. Either waking up earlier, spending time in the Word, and completing daily tasks on time. But first and foremost, build the habit of reading your Bible daily. Like I said, start in Matthew. It has 28 chapters. Read 1 chapter a day. Once you're finished with Matthew, just go to Psalms. Make it easy on yourself. But I do highly suggest for you to start in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And then, like I said, add in some Psalms here and there. That's a great beginner of reading the Bible. That's the first place that I recommend anybody to start. And then the reflection questions that I had for this month, and I'm actually going to have them up on the podcast Instagram page. That way you guys can keep them, write them out, journal with them, and really reflect and answer these questions. But number one is, where do I struggle with idleness and how can I replace it with purposeful action? Number two is, how can I create rhythms in my life that reflect God's priorities? And then number three, what small habit can I begin this month to build greater diligence and discipline in the year ahead? I also wanted to touch on this before I close out. I saw this and I wanted to touch on this really quickly, is the difference between a prayer board and a vision board, because I know I have corrected myself on previous episodes where I've said a prayer board versus a vision board. And basically the difference, it's not a huge difference. It actually is very similar. However, because it's still the idea of pictures either on, I have mine on my desktop. I want to make a physical one, but I just like the idea of being able to see it every day. So I have mine as my screensaver on my desktop. But the only difference is that a prayer board is something that the Lord shows you that that's what He wants for your life versus, and that's what you're praying for, that's what you're believing God for, versus a vision board is out of your own strength. It's what you want. And so when I put on a vision board is something that is out of my own selfish desires versus a prayer board is something that it is a co-working with the Lord on your dreams and aspirations and goals. That's the difference, essentially. So there are some things and projects and stuff that the Lord has laid on my heart that I know is going to come to fruition before the end of the year of 2025. And so I put that on my prayer board for 2025 because that is something that the Lord and I are working together on. So that's what goes on a prayer board versus a vision board. For me, like when I was not following the Lord, a vision board for me was like a stack of money, a designer purse. And I'm not saying that stuff is bad because I love my Louis Vuitton bag. But at the same time, I also want the projects that the Lord has for me. I want that on my prayer board that I'm seeing every day versus the stack of money. So that is the difference between the two. But I hope you guys had an amazing Christmas, an amazing New Year, and I am so excited for 2025. This is about to be such a fun year and all that the Lord is about to do. I'm so expectant and I'm praying for you, and I hope you guys have an amazing start to 2025. I'll talk to you guys soon. I hope this episode blessed you today. If it did, please rate and review the show. It helps grow the podcast to reach more Proverbs 31 creatives just like you. Don't forget to follow the show so you'll automatically be notified when the next episode drops. I'll be praying for you. See you next week.